Do you ever just get used to something that nobody else is really used to? Yeah, I do too. My thing, semis. Now I don't mean like the big old semi trucks that you have going down the highway, carrying everybody's like Amazon, FedEx, Walmart. I don't mean those kinds of semis. What I mean by semis is quarry, gravel pit semis where, you know, they travel just as fast off the highway, but they're a lot more frequent and the drivers aren't really as good. Now, that's not throwing shade, it's just like, you know how, like, I don't know why, but there's just this instinct where if you're driving in the city, like, say, these are two lanes here. If you're driving in the city, you're just going along, like, you stay right between those two lanes. If you're on a country road, you know, you swerve a little, you do like the cha-cha slide a couple times. I don't know why, but it just happens. But yeah, they do it. Like, easiest example of how I can prove this. Now, I can't do it like in person, but I have a story. So, back in my youth, you see, the highway, whenever it closed, there would be semis coming down my road. And so as these semis would come down my road, you'd see a big difference in the driving technique of the drivers. Now, I know that accent changed, but we're rolling with it. What I mean by that is, like, yeah, I've seen it. You see them on the highway, and they're just cruising, like nothing going on. I thought that said 7 minutes for a second, but yeah, nothing going on. Sticking between the lines. If it's a windy day, they will swerve a little. However, out on these country roads, there's been not very few, a number of times where you can see them go off onto the shoulder, or even worse, just go off the road completely. But, you know, that's what I've kind of gotten used to. I've lived where I've lived, and we have so many trailers, not only from quarry. We have transports that occasionally get lost and head out here. We have farming trucks, tractors, like, we have everything. So I'm just kind of used to it. Like, if I'm running down the road, walking down the road, biking down the road, normal people will be like, oh, look, a truck, like, okay, get fully off me. You're just like, oh, here we go again. Hey, Phil. I've just gotten used to it. But that is, like, completely off topic from what's going on in this video. Today, we are talking about food. What doing with food, you may wonder. Well, you know, as summer approaches and everybody's trying to get that summer shred on, trying to get that beach bod for the babes. I mean, that's what guys say. I don't really know what girls say. Just like, hot girl summer. Yeah, I don't know what else they really say. But, yeah, beach bods, hot girl summer, beach bod for the babes, whatever the hell you're going through. I want to talk to you. Alright, now, before you dive any deeper, I'd like to say, I need to get into my professional voice. Gotta look more awake. Alright. The things listed in this video are based off gathered information, opinions, and experiences. Not all information will be 100% correct, though will be given to the highest level of detail. Opinions and experience will vary from person to person. Everybody may have their own opinions, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, please enjoy the video. There we go! That was real time. That was not sped up. Now, if there are any companies that do, like, those, like, I don't know, pharmaceuticals do them, the As Seen on TV do them. If you need anybody to talk real quick with a deep voice so half the people can't understand it, I'm your man. Contact me. I got this. By the way, I had to read it off my laptop, and this font, it's like every letter is a centimeter tall. The thing is, this is small compared to what I've seen on some people's phones. Think about that. Think about that. Did you think about that? Did you really think about it? Think about it. Now, one of the first things to understand on this big old journey is calories. Now, every person has a different amount of calories that they need in order to maintain their limits and in order to also begin to build muscle. Though you have to be careful because it gets very tricky. Now, this is where it becomes a big numbers game. Because with calories, you have to look at the amount of calories that you should burn in a day, which is what a website will tell you if you do go and look one up. So that'll tell you on average what somebody your size may burn in a day, but that's not what you specifically will burn in a day. So you'll see the number they give you, and from there, you kind of have to just become a scientist and figure it out for yourself. Because that's saying if you sit on your ass and do nothing all day, that's how many calories you'll burn. That's not saying how many calories you'll burn if you're walking around, if you're doing day-to-day tasks, if you're carrying something heavy. Those are all different variables that apply to the amount of calories that you have to have in order to balance that out. Now, the other thing is, every person, the amount of calories that they need to eat will need to come from various different places. People who tend to gain weight more easily, they need to have leaner calories. Like, they can't be going out to McDonald's every day, where, like, if you know who David Lade is, he's a hard gainer. So hard gainers do need to have more calories, and most of the time they have more fatty calories in order so that they are able to put on the same amount of muscle. However, we're talking about cutting down and leaning out. So those still do apply. I just want to help you guys understand kind of a baseline understanding of calories. So calories are in everything of food. Calorie is a unit of energy defined as the amount of heat needed to raise the temperature of a quantity of water by 1 degree. With calories, it becomes kind of tricky based on everybody's goals, as well as everybody's individual thing. Now, does this mean that you should track calories like a crazy person if you want to lose weight? No, not necessarily. Because due to everybody losing weight at their own rate, the foods that they eat, you can eat healthy foods, even if you're tracking your calories, and still put on weight. It just becomes very tricky. Because you have to find what works for you, not what works for the person next to you. And that's where a lot of cookie cutter programs and diets become an issue, because they're just yes, this will work for everybody, but it doesn't. You have to find your own thing. Now, one of the big apps that a lot of people use in order to track calories and macros and all that is MyFitnessPal. Now, using MyFitnessPal, there are two different styles of tracking. You have some people who decide to track every little thing. They have their, macros, and they'll hit their macros exactly. They'll be I gotta hit this much protein, I'm hitting that much protein. It'll be 11:59 at night, 5 grams down. They'll be need more protein. And then you have the other people, it's just alright, I'm following the calories. This is the amount of calories I need to eat, let's go. And they'll just eat whatever makes them happy in that day. But, that's, I feel the better way to do it. If you're doing a show, if you're doing contest prep, if you're doing anything where you need to actually be lean, right to the muscle, then you're probably having a coach, and the coach is guiding you through your diet plan, and they have it set for what exactly you need to eat. However, most of the general population just wish to lean down, which it's better to take the calorie approach. However, you still need to do some watching of what you eat, doing the calorie approach as well. Because if you're doing the calorie approach, you just can't be, 3,500 calories of ice cream, baby. It's no, that's not reasonable. You still have to understand, using that amount of calories that you have for the day, what you can and cannot eat. It's not just as simple as, you know what, I'm going to blow it all right here, right now. Let's go. Game time! You can't do that. For example, that is basically, Usain Bolt, 100 meter, that's a short event. How can I say this? It's like if LeBron decided to sprint the first 2 minutes of an NBA game. Think about it. Because realistically, you're not there just for one meal. you have to be able to sustain yourself through the whole day. Now, doing that, like a timeout for LeBron is basically intermittent fasting, which is, so intermittent fasting, I may have to go close that umbrella. Intermittent fasting is when you decide not to eat through set periods of the day in order to have it so you can have bigger meals later on. So say LeBron's playing a game, he doesn't play through most of the first quarter and then he gets subbed in. That's basically, you're not eating for a bit of the day and then you finally begin to eat, and therefore you have a shorter window to eat all your calories in. That's the way a lot of people are doing it now. Though with intermittent fasting, you have to watch exercise, because a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, fasted cardio, like as they're on a stair climber. And so the reason they say fasted cardio is because due to the body not having any sources of food within it, the body is said to have glycogen sources that it will begin to eat at. And I'm not sure if you can hear the cat, but these glycogen sources are said to be depleted as you work out fasted. Is it true? I mean, it could be placebo. A lot of people do swear by it. A lot of people also say that it is Satan and like the Satan spawn of the earth. Like, it's a very split thing. It's just one of those things where if you've done it for a while, you'll continue to do it. However, if you haven't done it, you probably won't start it, because you'll Google it and be like, is this good? And you'll see like a lot of people saying it is evil. And then you'll be like, oh, I am not doing that. But you'll also see people saying like, oh yeah, I do it all the time. You'll be like, still not doing that. With the tracking of calories and all that, and people who wish to cut down, a lot of the times you'll also have people who talk about refeeds and cheat days or cheat meals. And so if you don't know what a cheat day or a cheat meal is, it's basically, so a cheat day is you don't really track anything and you're just going buck wild, and you can have whatever you want, how much of it you want. You can have basically anything you want. And then cheat meal is you have one meal of the day that isn't really tracked. You can go buck wild for that one meal. And then with refeeds is basically you get a small snack in order to restore like some bits of unhealthy food, so that way you don't feel like absolute horse shit and you still have motivation to keep going. Now, a lot of the times, so cheat meals and cheat days, they're mostly used during like bulking areas, well, like bulking times, as well as if you're beginning to cut or if you're deep into a cut. They're used in order so that way, like if you're deep in a cut, you're not getting like fully depressed, because as you cut out food, your brain will psychologically set warfare with yourself. So that's where cheat meals and cheat days go. Now, are they bad? That's up to everybody's own opinion, because with cheat days, you restore a lot of glycogen. Just one sec. So with cheat days and cheat meals, you restore a lot of glycogen into your system. Now, you may be thinking, well, you were just talking about burning that. However, this glycogen isn't a bad thing, because glycogen is one of the main things that helps produce pumps at the gym. Like if you see the guys on YouTube and they just walk around after going to the gym and like their veins are popping out and all of that. First off, they may be on steroids. If they're not on steroids though, most of the time it's glycogen as well as sodium, because a lot of those guys have developed their diets as well as what they need to eat in order to become more aesthetic for photo shoots after the gym. Though this goes into a whole nother topic that I might cover later. But with a refeeds are more so used in contest prep. So if you're getting ready for a bodybuilding show or anything like that, you'll have refeeds in order to just like give your mind that little, oh, okay, nice little break, let's keep going, like let's keep rolling. As well as it does help increase glycogen slightly, not as much as a cheat day or a cheat meal. but it does assist with psychological and physical benefits to a slight degree physically, but big mentally. Now, which should you do? Well, it's completely up to you. I mean, everything here is completely up to you. If you want to go all out and be like, oh yeah, I'm absolutely getting toned down and shredded, then go for it. If you just want to be like, yeah, I just want to slim down a little, go for it. You know, it's not really anybody's choice to do this but yours. Is tracking calories 100% necessary? Like, if you want to lose weight, do you have to do it? No. I'm going to be completely honest. If that's your only goal is to lose weight, you don't need to track calories. Is it good to have a brief understanding of what you're eating? Yes. Should you track calories for the first little bit to see what you normally eat in a day? Yes. Do you have to do it for the rest of your entire life? Not at all. Now, let me tell you a couple fun little stories. So, you see, I used to be like neurotic tracking calories. Like, I eat anything, I'd sit there and I'd make sure to put it in MyFitnessPal, make sure everything fit the best description I could if like it was homemade or anything, and I did that. Now, I've mentioned this before in a previous video, but like I felt like an idiot sometimes because I'd go out and I'd see my friends and like I had to input, you know, I drank this much and I had this much food in it. Like I'd literally sit there and be like, oh, so I can have this many chips still. I'm like trying to figure it out in my head instead of giving myself those days off or like relaxing a little bit about it. And so I kind of drove myself crazy with that. Like, was I still able to see results and all that? Not really. Because it just goes down to like understanding yourself. I didn't understand myself back then. Like I was too focused seeing on what the app said instead of like what my body felt. And that was a big mistake on my part. Now, I'm glad I've learned that, but one of the other things I've also learned is that you don't always need to track calories in order to see results. Again, if you're doing a show and if you want to do that and like have it so that way you're accountable for yourself, go for it. By any means, download MyFitnessPal and use it. That's completely up to you if you want to. However, I've also seen it where I've understood what I ate and, you know, understanding what I ate, I'm able to see and kind of gauge sizes, but that's only after using the app. So basically, if you wish to lose weight, start it with the app. You don't need to keep it, but it's good to understand how many calories you're eating in a normal day. So that way you can understand like where your starting point is and what you have to do in order to lower. But, you know, it also falls down onto the exercise you're doing. If you wish to do it based on, you know, dieting and cutting out food alone, that's one whole experience. Though in my experience, the most weight I've ever lost in the quickest amount of time was, I think it was 30 pounds, or no, 20 pounds in 3 months. It was like 20 to 30 pounds in 3 months. And so the way I did that is I came off an absolutely dirty bulk. Like I was, what was I? Back then I was 190. Like 190 back then. Like, I mean, I'm 190 now, but it's different. I was 190 back then, and then when track season came around, you know, started running, started training for a half marathon, and just did all this work, and I ended up losing the weight. The worst part about it was like half my clothes didn't fit me, because like, so I started out at like 185, then I went up to I want to say that my heaviest was like 195. So I put a lot of it onto my waist, so I needed new pants, and I needed some new shirts. And so I got all that, and then once I got all those new clothes, I immediately shifted back down, and I went under 185. So like half my pants didn't fit me anymore, half my shirts were big. And it was just one of those things where I learned that like it varies everybody's goals. So like if you're doing something other than just weightlifting, or if you're doing something other than just cutting out meals, you will have to have your calories account for that. Because was I making sure I was eating well over my amount of calories, or like my daily balance? No. Am I the only one who's made this mistake? Nope, I know quite a few people who have done this as well, where they don't know how many calories they're eating, what their daily balance is, how many calories they're burning, and so they're under eating based on the amount of calories that they're expending. So that's why I'm saying, just to understand like what you do in a normal day. If you track one day and just be like, okay, I burn this many calories in this length of an activity, that'll allow you to understand how many calories you burn normally, and then allow it so that way you can be like, okay, this is how many calories I ate in that day. And you'll know how to associate the amount of calories to the amount of food, and you'll just kind of be able to gauge it out without having to just sit there every single meal and be like, okay, this. Now, am I talking against MyFitnessPal? No, it's a great program, especially if you're trying to lose weight. Just, it gets tricky because, it is a user-based platform, meaning they don't put on a lot of things for you. A lot of it is people who put their own meals and that on. So you kind of have to guess the best thing. Like, you may be having one thing that you made at home, and if you can't remember everything that you had, or if you didn't make it and someone else made it and you try to input it, you may be sitting there and it's just like, well, I think it's this much protein, but that amount of fat does not seem right, and it messes up your calories completely. And I've had that. I've also had it where I input the wrong thing, and then I go back and I'm just like, went over that day, under that day. It becomes complicated. If you're in a rhythm of it, it's fine. If you're new to it, you can experiment, see what everything's all about. But, is it necessary to cut and go on a diet? No. Is it based on your own personal opinion? Yes. May you have your own experience with it? Yes. And now, that's kind of the one great thing about everything about YouTube is I can tell you my experiences, and you guys can tell me about yours. Like, I'm telling you one side of a story and trying to implement as many things as I know. However, I don't know what works for you. And if you guys wish to educate me on what works for you, feel free, comment it down below. Whoa. I just realized something. I never said if I track calories. Do I? Depends. Am I right now? No. Now, the reason why is because if I was tracking calories, I'd see how much I'm under eating by. Now, this is where I kind of should be, but so right now with my job and my days off and everything like that, it would just be hectic for me to try and be like, okay, this was the meal I had for lunch today, this is what I'm having for dinner, this is what I had for breakfast. It's pretty routine, however it does continue to change every day. So therefore, like breakfast, calories stay the same every day. Lunch and dinner, calories change every day. So it kind of creates this state of, I understand what I'm eating, however I also understand that there will be fluctuations in what I eat and what those calories contain based on macros and micros. Now, like what I'm eating right now, I have like 2 slices of meatloaf with vegetable lasagna. Is that highly nutritious? No. What can I tell you about it? I put 500 calories with their cheese on it. That meatloaf is probably worth around $6.60 probably, and the lasagna is worth maybe $70 or $7.50 to $1,000 or more. So like right there, I'm having over 1,000 calories. Is that bad? No, because it's like 1:45 and this is the first thing I've eaten all day. Is that great? No, but meh. My goals right now aren't really too crazy. Like, I'm not trying to lean down, but I'm also not trying to bulk. I'm not even trying to sustain. So I'm trying to bulk, but I'm not trying to bulk. Like, I'm trying to put on lean muscle while still being able to stay decently lean. Am I achieving that? Yes. Am I tracking my calories? Not at all. It's just, that's what I prefer. And I often see more results when I do that because I'm not forced to. Why does it echo so much here? Because I'm not forced so much to focus on everything that I'm doing. It allows me to have the freedom to eat what I want, and then I still see results and I'm more happy with it. If that makes sense. Like, instead of being like, oh, I went over my calories this day, instead of making it numbers based, I make it based on how I feel, as well as looking at the results in the mirror and being happy with how I look. Now, every day it does vary based on, like I said, glycogen makes you look bigger. And then as you deplete in the day, like, you can start in the morning with all the glycogen in your system, you're just like, oh yeah, I'm looking big today. And then as the day progresses, you look in the mirror later and it's just like, oh, nice. But, you know, I am happy where I'm at. I don't track calories just because, like, for what I'm doing, I'm not trying to bulk too much and I'm not trying to lean. I'm trying to stay consistent with a lean bulk on. So, you know, I just play every day as its own. Like, some days I may be over, some days I may be under. Is that good? Not necessarily. However, it's what I feel the most comfortable and the most happy with. So that's what I stick with. I stick to my guns and I go along with that. However, I don't know what works for you. And if you guys wish to educate me on what works for you, feel free, comment it down below. While you're down there, feel free, hit the like button, as well as to subscribe if you're new around here. But with that all being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget, don't party too hard. I'll catch you guys again in the next video. And, you know, all I gotta say, I don't know what to say, but yeah. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys did enjoy this. Comment down below, like I said, any of your experiences with cutting down and everything. I know everybody does have their own. I know information that I said may not be relevant to you. And, you know, I wish not to kind of offend anybody with it, though I wish to help educate people. And if you guys wish to tell me something, I'm free to be educated, because it just creates another kind of stream of information for me to have. But again, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget, don't party too hard. And I'll catch up with you guys again in the next video. Have a good one.